All right, let's jump right in because there's a really fundamental shift happening right now in the world of assets, and it could literally change how we think about everything, from skyscrapers to government bonds. We're talking about tokenization, and specifically what it means for one of the oldest, most solid asset classes in the world, real estate. And look, I want to be super clear about this from the get-go. This is not some far-off sci-fi concept. I mean, this quote here says it all. Tokenization isn't just a theory anymore. It's the actual plumbing, right? The infrastructure that's being built out as we speak. And yeah, the numbers, they totally back this up. Just look at the speed of this thing. According to MarketWatch, the market for tokenized assets is set to triple. It's jumping from under $10 billion in 2023 to $30 billion by 2025. I mean, that's not slow, gradual change. That is an absolute explosion. So this crazy growth, it's not just about, sticking old assets on the internet. No, it's actually creating something brand new, a hybrid asset that brings together worlds that, honestly, have always been completely separate. Just think about it for a second. You've got the rock-solid stability of real estate, the reliability of government treasuries, and then you have the cutting-edge tech of crypto. For the very first time, these three totally separate financial worlds are starting to overlap and merge. Okay, so the big question is, what do you get when you combine all that? When you blend the best parts of these three super powerful asset classes, what's the result? Well, what you get is this new hybrid asset class, and it's got some amazing perks. You get the high-yield potential that you'd see in real estate and crypto. You get radical transparency because it's all on the blockchain, so you always know who owns what, and that record can't be changed. And maybe the biggest deal of all, instant liquidity. I mean, the ability to sell your piece of a skyscraper in minutes, not months, that is a complete game changer. All right, so let's get into the engine that's making all of this happen. We've been throwing the word around, but what is tokenization, really? At its core, it's actually a pretty simple idea. You take the rights to a real-world asset, say ownership of a building, and you convert those rights into a secure digital token that lives on a blockchain. That's it. So simple. But the implications? Absolutely revolutionary. So you might be asking, what problems does this actually solve? Well, think about traditional assets. They're often super illiquid. I mean, good luck selling a commercial building in a day, right? They're opaque, buried under mountains of complex paperwork, and they're exclusive, needing a ton of cash just to get in the door. Tokenization, it just flips that whole script. It gives you liquidity, transparency, and makes it accessible to almost anyone through fractional ownership. Okay, now let's make this super concrete. Let's talk about an asset we all get, real estate. How in the world do you go from physical bricks and mortar to digital blocks on a blockchain? Believe it or not, the process is pretty straightforward. First up, a physical property gets legally secured, usually in its own dedicated company. Step 2, the ownership of that company gets sliced up into thousands, maybe millions of digital tokens. Third, those tokens are put out on a secure blockchain, which creates a permanent digital record of who owns what. And then finally, investors can buy, sell, and trade these tokens on a market, kind of like you trade a stock. And the impact of this? Oh, it's huge. It completely changes the game for who can own property, how buildings are run, and even how developers raise money for new projects. It really is democratizing an entire industry. So who's actually out there building this new financial plumbing? Let's look at a real-world example to make this a little less abstract. So let's talk about Genesis Holdings. They're what you'd call a prop tech company. That's property technology, and also a blockchain investment company. They're operating right at that sweet spot where all these worlds are coming together. So what does a company like this actually do? Well, they're focused on those key ideas we've been talking about. They are transforming ownership by creating that secure, liquid access to really high-value real estate. But they're also bringing in other new tech, like using AI to help manage their platforms, and they even have a treasury strategy that's aligned with Bitcoin, which just goes to show how deep this whole hybrid model can run. All right, let's pull back for the big picture again, because what companies like Genesis Holdings really show us is that shift from just an idea to something real. We're way past the point of this just being a theory. And this quote, it just captures the spirit of this whole movement perfectly. The people and companies in this space, they aren't just sitting on the sidelines watching the future happen. No way. They are the architects, the engineers. They are actively building it, block by digital block. So, If there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The future of investing is hybrid. It's all about creating that strong, secure link between the physical world of real assets and the digital world of super liquid tokens. And when you blend them, you get a system that's just more efficient, more transparent, and way more accessible for everybody.
And I'll leave you with one last question to think about. We've talked a lot about real estate today, but just imagine when this technology gets applied to, well, everything, to art, to private companies, to rare collectibles. What happens to our entire economy when every single asset on the planet becomes instantly tradable? The implications are just staggering to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in.